South Africa's new mining charter review was released today, and the Department of Mineral Resources maintained its target of 26% black ownership of mines by 2014. The Democratic Republic of Congo has suspended all mining operations in the east of the country indefinitely. This is part of a clampdown on illegal networks, which the Ministry of Mines says is fueling the region's violence. To find out what this means and just how easy it will be to enforce, we're talking to Harrison Mitchell, Director at Resources Consulting Services in London. Harrison, thanks for joining us today. Let's start off with the motivation behind banning all mining in the east of the country. Of course, this really having to do with the rebel groups as well, and the fact that it is fueling tension. Your initial view on this, and do you think it was something that needed to be done?
It's an interesting move here, banning the trade altogether. There have been a lot of moves to try and reform the trade, and including, you may have heard recently, this Dodd-Frank Act in the U.S., which has tried to make sure that any minerals coming from Eastern Congo or Congo generally need to be traceable. But, you know, banning the trade has not been something which people have advocated up till now. So it's really quite a stunning move, and it's hard to know at the moment what the outcome is going to be.
Well, your sentiment is that it is relatively unclear for now as to government's next move, but how easy is it going to be to enforce this?
Yeah, I mean, the bans have happened previously on the trade, and to little to no effect. I mean, the trade is just, you know, and clandestine routes have increased, or the trade has found other routes outside of the Congo. As we know, it's a huge country with very porous borders. To have any kind of effect, this ban needs to be regionally enforced. So it needs to have the cooperation of Rwanda and Uganda and elsewhere to ensure that you know, the minerals going across the borders are not Congolese.
Well, obviously this is targeting illegal mining, but to what extent is this going to affect foreign direct investment? And obviously we're talking about a very rich mineral area in the DRC. To what extent is this going to impact possible flows into the country?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, this is going to affect mostly artisanal miners. You know, in the Eastern Congo, if you're talking about North and South Kivu, you simply have artisanal mining only. There's no large-scale miners there at all. There are some medium-sized miners who are, you know, exploiting and what have you, but the security situation is such that it's very difficult for larger operators to be in the Congo. So, in terms of, you know, forward-looking investment, the reform of the trade is necessary for any investment in these areas. So if this is part of a kind of broader shift in the Congolese government's policy to take reform more seriously, then it's welcome. But if it's just another kind of, you know, political posturing attempt, then I think investors need to be rightly concerned going forward.
And clearly this really having to do with the rebel groups that are in that area, and of course, as we said, the illegal mining scenario. What do you think the ultimate solution is at this point in time from a mining perspective? Because obviously there's a lot of minerals that many people are going to try and tap into, and of course it's going to help the DRC's economy, but obviously not to the extent where lives are lost, and of course it is going to be perpetuating more illegal mining. What do you think the solution is, Harrison?
Well, I think we advocate a kind of separation between the reforming of the extractive sector and also attempting to solve the military crisis. I mean, you can't, in our opinion, you can't solve a military issue through economic reform. What needs to happen is the Congolese government needs to get control over its territory and ensure that there's proper governance in this region. There's no amount of mining or lack of mining that's going to stop that. So I think if these measures are accompanied with a kind of broader push from Kinshasa to seek to control and to get rid of the rebel groups, then it's very welcome. But if it's another attempt to try and you know, influence these rebel groups through the economic, through the mining sector, then I think it is problematic, and the international community needs to review that further.
Yeah, Harrison, in terms of Africa as a whole, and given the fact that there has been a lot of tension in various countries regarding regulation, I mean, we just have to look at in terms of what's happening with our mining charter here, and we are trying to do away with some of the ambiguities. What is your view? I mean, there's still a lot of talk of nationalization. There's still a lot of issues. I mean, even just taking a look in terms of what's happening in the likes of Uganda with the oil licenses that are going to be awarded there. What is your general sense of mining in Africa? Do you think that we're starting to make headway, or do you think there's still a lot of things that need to be done to make it more transparent?
Well, clearly there's a lot of reform needed in the mineral sector and the extractive sector in Africa. You know, there are initiatives underway, such as the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. But really, it's up to the national governments to develop their own natural resource charters or their own perspective on governance, which allows them to appropriately manage and govern the resources for the good of the people. I mean, that is my opinion. I think the opinion of most people in Africa. These minerals are therefore a part of the natural wealth of the country and need to be used as such.
Harrison, thank you very much for your time today. Harrison Mitchell, Director at Resource Consulting Services.